Hello, everybody. This is the new edition of Ask Guillem. Really good questions, and a lot of them, but I'll get 10 answered, and I hope you don't get upset if yours is not there. But there will be more occasions to talk again, I'm sure. Now, the first one is from Alejandro P. Gomez, says Griezmann to leave Barcelona, followed by Graham Simpson, who says part of a swap deal with PSG for Neymar. We published in the Sport that both things are possible, that Griezmann is actually in the shop, they're showing him the door, as we say in Spanish, for him to go and move on. But every possibility is available as well. What that means generally is that the club are saying he's for sale if anybody wants him. And then we will have to see what happens, because I think what's quite clear, and I think one of the questions I've chose deals with this, the market has been transformed. It's a completely different market now. There won't be a huge amount of money being spent in the next market. And that means that will Barcelona really want to lose on a player that they still haven't got enough back from, not in terms of performances, not in terms of money either. But the door is open. That's, I think, all I'm getting from that. And that Neymar wants to come back is another cover of sport that made the headlines everywhere, because it's true. We've been saying it all along for the last few weeks. Yes, there is the possibility of Neymar coming back. Barcelona are considering that as well. Lautaro Martinez is the other player they would like. I'm not sure they'll be able to get both. But in any case, they will have to sell 7 or 8 players from the squad to actually be able to raise money for one of them. So that's where we stand. And again, it's very early to say anything else. Stephen McBride says, how much of an impact will the current situation have on transfers in the summer? Will players be allowed to move, or will the window be changed depending on next season? That, of course, is something to be decided. What I'm hearing from CEOs, both in the Premier League and in Spain, is that there is no real clear path of what's the thing to do. But everything will have to be agreed, and they hope that that's agreed by the whole of European football, not just by a league or a club, of course. That includes things like, will players stay on after the end of June if their contracts finish? How would a contract to play perhaps until September maybe look like? They are being discussed, all these things. And in terms of the transfer window, it'll either be the shortest transfer window possible, or it'll have to be moved to have some kind of window somewhere, but it doesn't affect the rest of the season. What everybody's clear on is that they want to finish the season. The season has to finish for many reasons. Of course, to comply with the broadcasting contracts, for the fairness of the competition, but just because, as well, as I heard from our CEO in a Premier League club, if the games are played even behind closed doors, and even if it's one a day, that is, the fixture list gets distributed every day, so to entertain the world, if you like, that will mean that the losses won't be great, won't be big, and then they will be able to go on and plan for the following season, whenever that starts as well. I heard that, and it's been published in the Telegraph, that the Premier League was thinking of starting perhaps on the 1st of June and finish it by mid-July and start in mid-August, again the following season. I've asked around and nobody seems to know about it. Perhaps it's something that's been thrown out there by somebody close to the Premier League with the idea of see the reaction of people. But clubs have been told that is in May when the league should resume. Everybody knows that probably that won't be possible. And nothing else official has come out from the Premier League. So we will see. I think it all depends on the decision as La Liga and the Federation, Spanish Federation, have decided. Their next step, or when the league will start, will depend on the governments. When the government feel that that is safe to do so. At the moment, the Premier League still putting dates. The first one is unrealistic. It won't start in May, and then we'll have to see what else happens. But as I said, the Federation and the Spanish League have decided not to put any more dates and leave that decision to the government. What else have we got from Football Index? It is posted on your other post asking about your thoughts on Aleña's future at Barça. Barcelona want him back. The latest I heard is that Barcelona want everything to continue as this season. That is, Quique Setién to be in charge and take over the rest, the team for the rest of the season, and then they are working already on what happens next for next season. And I already mentioned about Neymar, about Griezmann, but Aleñá is somebody that Quique Setién wants back in the side. He's only played half of the minutes that he had at Betis, so he hasn't really fully taken advantage of his situation, but it is the kind of player that that they would like to come back to make the squad stronger. Rakitic, by the way, is wanted by Sevilla, and it's something that Sevilla is cooking very slowly with the idea that eventually convincing Barcelona not having to pay, I think it's about 20 million euros for him, which is a figure that doesn't seem to me a lot, but Sevilla, what they're trying to do, that's a figure that Barcelona will put for his departure. But Sevilla think they would like to get him even for cheaper. And I think it's something that may happen. As you know, Rakitic's wife is from Sevilla, and he loved his time at Sevilla, and going back seems like a good idea. This one from Besko Trajkovic. He says, how do you think Barcelona will proceed once Messi is no longer there? Will they try to produce another superstar and build a team around him? That's not what happened with Messi. Or will they take a system-based approach and aim for team balance as the main objective? They found Messi. But yes, it got to a point, as in, they didn't create Messi. He was in Argentina, came over, and Messi for me is like a rock down a mountain. He's unstoppable. So wherever he went, and he started jumping ages, and he will be two years ahead of his own age. Wherever he went, he shocked everybody, and they allowed him to walk into the team and to be the star of that team. It wasn't so much that they were kind of molding him to become a first-team player. They just were shocked by the quality of Messi. And yes, once he got to 21 and Pep Guardiola arrived into the side, that is when Messi actually became the whole team worked around Messi and was built around Messi. Even though along the way they made the mistake, for instance, of bringing Ibrahimovic, thinking that he could work with Leo, and he couldn't, because Ibrahimovic didn't want to mold himself to what was demanded of the side at that time. We can talk about all of it if you want at some other point. But there is a plan. It depends who will be the leader of that plan. So Bartomeu, the president of Barcelona, would like to continue this idea of bringing some of the former Barcelona players to the club. They tried it with Xavi, it didn't work. I think that bridge is broken at the moment. There's a lack of trust between both sides. Once when they tried to get rid of Valverde, they approached Xavi, and what came out from those two meetings were two completely different stories depending which side you ask. So the trust is broken there. But the idea was always to bring him back, to bring Pep Guardiola back, to bring Puyol into the team, but Puyol said no to being director of football. That was what Bartomeu wanted to do, to actually start a post-Messi plan. And at the moment, it hasn't come off. The intention will be, of course, to create a strong team, hence the arrival of Neymar. But if he's one of the candidates to the elections that should happen, would think in 2021, say Victor Font, for instance, he has his own ideas of what to do after Messi. But in terms of who is in charge, I've just told you the main plans. Damien Coyce says, I watched the Diego Maradona documentary yesterday, and it got me thinking, what's the best football documentary you've seen? The bestest one. Bestest one. One that ESPN, in the series of 30 by 30, 30 documentaries, 30 minutes long, there were two. The two Pablos, and it's about Pablo Escobar, both Pablos Escobar. One, of course, the head of the drug cartel, and the other one, the player that got killed. What a fascinating story that is. And the other one was, I can't remember what they called it, but it was a documentary in which they took Martina Navratilova and Chris Evert, the two main leaders of their generation, tennis players, to a weekend home, and they chatted. That's all it was, them two chatting. And that conversation was unbelievable, with Martina Navratilova saying, I envied you, Chris, because you were America's girlfriend. Everybody loved you. And Chris saying, I envied you because you could show on the pitch, on the court, all the passion that you have inside, and much more. So I recommend those two if you can get them. Cobb Janet says, how is Rafa? I hope he's safe. I think he's still in China. If you see or speak to him, send him Liverpool best wishes. You never walk alone. He was actually in Benidorm until about 4 days ago when he actually traveled back to China because the club felt that it was safer to be in China than to be in Spain. So he had been in Spain for a couple of months in a very long pre-season. They still don't know when the season is going to start, but he went back to China with his team, and he will be there, of course, with his coaching staff as well, hoping for the season to restart at some point. It would be good to see his team and the Chinese League be restarted because it'll give us all hope that things will finish soon. And he's fine. Saura V says, do you think that Barcelona will go for fullbacks this season, considering Jordi Alba is aging, out of form, and can run up and down the flank like he used to? There were rumors that Semedo wanted to leave. No, they're actually trying to renew Semedo's contract. Yes, Jordi Alba is one of those players that's reaching his peak. They still think that he's been injured a lot this season. That has been a problem for him. But the plan will be to have him still as number one. I don't think they're convinced about Junior. In terms of fullbacks, yes, they would like, if they had money, they would like to get a strong one. Emerson, who's at Betis on loan from Barcelona, may return, but he's a right back. So the idea is, yes, to get perhaps another left back. But the priority really is to convince Neymar, sell one of the big stars, and get a player per position. They've got with Trincao, which we're going to mention in a minute, a winger. They want a midfielder, they want a centre-back, and perhaps a full-back as well. And a centre-forward, because, of course, Luis Suarez will be fit for when the league restarts, but they need a replacement as well. And the 10 books. I made a list. This is a suggestion by Clay DeVoe, and this is my list. Just briefly. But you can go back, rewind, and get the name of the book that I mentioned. But Andre Agassi's autobiography, Open, is absolutely fantastic. For somebody that didn't enjoy what he was doing, that hated sometimes at some point playing tennis, tells you why as well. And it has to do with his relationship with his dad. Very, very open, as the book is, account of a man at the elite. Tony Cascarino, full-time, what a story, and how well he explains it. Funny account of him, especially at the end of his career. And I remember stories like him telling that when he came out of bed in the mornings, right at the end of his career, he couldn't walk for like an hour. He'd just be on the floor trying to stretch because he was unable to walk, imagine. And that's because of the kind of work that he had to put in as a player for all these years. I felt that Gianluca Vialli and Gabriele Marcotti, my friend, did a magnificent job with the Italian Job. The problem is I don't think it's on ebook, but you could ask Gab about that. And it was a comparison between the Italian League and the English League. And you learn a lot about English League and the Italian League as well, and how they got to where they got to. It's an old book, but it was an interesting approach to that idea of getting to see what you can get from both footballs to actually apply it in your own. Raphael Honigstein, Das Reboot, how German soccer reinvented itself and changed the world. The name says it all. A really, really good read. Nick Hornby, Fever Pitch, of course, the recounts of what it is or what it was to be an Arsenal fan at that time. You fell in love with Arsenal. You cannot stop it. But the book is absolutely magnificent. It reads so well. Phil Ball did a great job with Morbo, which was a story with different chapters of the history of Spanish football, from a political, sociological, and football point of view as well, but in a funny way. Phil Ball is a great writer. I had to choose one of the many Jonathan Wilson books. The History of Football Tactics, of course, is a reference for everybody that is related to football, including managers. Eduardo Galeano, Football in Sun and Shadow. I don't know the translation, but in Spanish it's a wonderful, wonderful book. The usage of imagery, the words, the way he puts things together. I hope in English it translates well. Of course, from Ronald Reng, Life Too Short. From, you must remember Robert Enke, the goalkeeper who ended up killing himself. What a story. And how hard depression can hurt you. And of course, in an environment like football where you cannot show any weaknesses, it's difficult, in this case, impossible to show them and to be helped. Finally, Joey Barton, No Nonsense, written with Michael Colvin. And again, he's my friend, and I know what he's like, and I saw and heard him talk in that book for a completely different approach on what football can do for you and what you can do for football. Joey Barton is the book. I hope you enjoyed it. That's it for now. There'll be another one next week, and we can talk about anything else. Maybe I don't know, next movies or more on the books. Perhaps I could tell you some stories of the books I've written. We will see. Whatever you ask me to do, I'll do. That will be on Ask Guillem next week for a sport. See you later.